All right, welcome to the Live Rats podcast.
Here with Jason Diver.
Thanks, guys.
Man himself. What do you think about the studio?
This is awesome. This is so much more than I expected. So I'm hyped for you guys. This is great.
That's good, yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So my name's Jason Diver. I'm 20 years old, born and raised Naples, Florida. I'm a charter captain, owner and operator of Southwest Slam Fishing. We got a couple boats, 2-3 boats running, and I primarily do offshore fishing, but also inshore eco tours, so anything on the water.
Cool. Yeah. How are you able to get started in that?
So the funny thing is, a lot of people in the last couple of years called me like daddy's money and stuff like that because they didn't know the full story, and I thought that would be cool to be able to kind of tell people what actually happened on this. So my dad, he bought a 18-foot flats boat before I was born, right? I'm 20, so he bought it in like 1999, something like that. And that's the boat that I fished on when I was a kid. So he would, he wasn't a serious fisherman like I am. He was a golf teaching pro. So fishing was just kind of like a small hobby for him. We'd go out once every couple of weeks or something. So that's where I kind of learned the fundamentals of fishing. But probably by the time I was like 10 or so, I had already kind of like surpassed him just from like learning and watching shows and YouTube and stuff like that. I was teaching him stuff. And then when we couldn't go on the boat, I would just go freshwater fishing for like bass and stuff in the lakes in my neighborhood. And that's when I just really fell in love with fishing, no matter what kind of fishing it was. So I'd fish every single day. And elementary school, middle school, like all day long, every chance I got.
And it's great now because you monetize fishing, with charters.
No, it's cool because if you asked me when I was like probably 7, 8 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have said, I want to be a fishing guide.
Nice.
And now I'm doing it. So it's pretty cool. So when I was 13, that's when you can legally get your boating license here in Florida. So that's when I started taking out the action craft, the flats boat, out by myself and just taking some friends, whatever, and learning more. And, I'd go out a mile or two offshore. And back then to me, that was crazy. And, I thought, catching little sharks and mackerel and stuff was sick. And I was like, looking back at it now, I'm like, I can't believe that I was that hype about that kind of stuff back then. But, the business grew. The second I turned 18, I got my captain's license, like literally 2 weeks after, because that's how old you have to be. After that, I was just getting like the LLC together, all the paperwork, stuff like that. And then I got my website going, promotion on Instagram too, and I started running trips. This is the busy season right now, so I think I got everything set by like January of 2021.
Wow.
And then that season, I just grinded it out. And by the next year, I had enough to buy a new boat. So that's when I bought a 26-foot Pathfinder because I wanted something a little bigger because I really like going, near shore, going like 5 miles or so when the weather was calm. And so, I bought that boat. Still paying it off. But I bought a nicer boat than I should have probably, looking back on it now.
Yeah.
But I kind of, set my standards high, and I was like, that's the boat that I want, and that's what I'm going to get. So, I was looking on Facebook Marketplace every day until I found one, and then I just bought it.
Were you able to get like fully booked when you first started out? Like,
yeah, I mean, this time of the year, basically the way it works is anybody with a boat and a website can be booked.
Pretty much. Because
there's so many people down here for spring break and, just all season long. It's pretty much first week of January all the way through April is slammed. But that Christmas week through the first of the new year is like I could have 4 boats running at the same time. Same thing with these weeks in March here. So that I was lucky that that's right when I got my stuff together. And because I started running right away. Even only being in the business for a few months, I had 4 or 5 trips a day sometimes. I mean, not a day, a week. Now I'm doing 4 trips a day sometimes.
Wow. That's a lot.
So, yeah, it just worked out. The timing was perfect. But it is super seasonal. Summers are dead slow, no matter who you are. I know some guys they stay booked during the summer, but it is really tough. So,
Yeah.
but that's something that's nice about it, because then I can actually kind of sit back and enjoy it myself. Because this time of year, the last thing I would ever want to do is go fishing for fun on a day off.
Yeah.
But during the summer,
So hard.
during the summer when it's slow, I can go out there and go explore, try new stuff, actually enjoy it and get on the water for myself. So.
Oh yeah, and have you been able to make a return on your investment?
To spend money. So me being so young, I was able to put so much money back into the business. So anytime I make any money at all right now, I reinvest it, whether it's buying a new boat, or smaller stuff like new rods, new tackle, stuff like that. So have I made a return as of right now? No. I'm so far in debt, it's not even funny. But I know that once I pay these things off, it's just going to be straight cash flow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, if you're making enough to pay off, expenses that are $10,000, $15,000 a month, once that's said and done, you're going to be
set.
bringing in a lot of money. So, my big purchase for this last year, I bought a new boat, 29-foot Orion, with twin engines. So that's my new offshore boat. So I took all the money I'd saved, put it in on that, bought the hull, and then I got a business line of credit and another credit card, and I maxed them out. So I spent literally every dollar that I had and didn't have to get that boat. But now, I've had it for a few months, and I only got a little bit left to pay off. So
That's good.
yeah.
Cool.
How many boats do you have?
So 2 are mine. I have the 26 Pathfinder and the 29 Orion, and then I also have a partner. It's another LLC that's a charter company, and they have a bigger boat. It's a 37 Freeman, and that's what I do all the real far offshore stuff on. So
Cool.
it's cool. It is a great opportunity for me to get better at that kind of fishing and build up a client base of people who can afford those kind of trips, because to go out on that boat, it's $5, $6, $7 per day. So when I started, I was charging $450 for a half day on that boat, and when you start raising your prices and, offering better trips, you lose a lot of people, but you also gain a new client base. So that's kind of what I'm trying to go for, is to be on the higher end and do less trips, but for more money, and, have the nicest boats and, the best captains, stuff like that. Right. So that every single person that comes has the best experience, so that they're willing to spend $5,000 on an offshore trip, because they're, it's $1 million boat. So it's not overpriced by any means.
No.
So technically there's 3 boats in the fleet. So, but I'm looking to get my own big offshore boat pretty soon, in the next couple of years, because I don't want to have to, rely on somebody else, booking the boat and stuff like that.
Well, you're in the right market. I mean, it's this part of South Florida, especially like you keep going to the Keys and stuff like that, you're gonna find more and more people that are willing to pay like upwards of $10,000, just for a day of really good fishing.
Yeah, no, I think this is a great place to do it, because we do have an awesome fishery here, and obviously you do have a lot of high net worth individuals here, and it's not oversaturated with a ton of competition yet. Like the Keys, I mean, there's like a select few that you can name that really run the Keys. For example, 2 Conchs. I couldn't even tell you how many boats they got. They probably got like 30. And they're not like little crappy charter boats. Like they got like 35, 40-foot yellowfins, front runners, all like $600,000, $700,000 boats.
Yeah.
So they just got the whole Keys taken over, and there's nothing like that here, you know. And I guess the key to having a successful charter business is being able to grow and have more boats, but still maintain a level of quality that would be like if you were just an owner operator. Because that's what you see with a lot of these charter companies is they're just trying to book as many trips as possible and have as many boats as possible run at the same time. So they buy cheap boats and they hire whatever captain is available.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if they catch stuff or not. You know, they're not getting a lot of return customers. They're just, you know, paying a lot in the ads and they're, you know, booking a bunch of trips, but it's, you know, it's not really a quality operation. So that's kind of what I'm trying to create here.
So you're saying, because I've seen that definitely in the Keys. There's you'd think there'd be so many charters doing well, but really some of these marinas there's like only a few, and they're running out because these big charter companies are running, you know, the whole operation. So you'd say you're more likely trying to create right now like a kind of a monopoly for the South Florida market in this part, like as in charter?
Kinda, yeah. I don't want to have something as big as, let's say, 2 conchs, and that's kind of a reach anyways.
Yeah.
Because that's probably one of the biggest charter companies in the whole United States. And he's not just in the Keys now. He's in Miami, Jacksonville, St. Augustine. I think they're going to do Tampa soon. So
Enterprise.
He's just taking over the whole state, and, you know, great for him. It's awesome, especially to be able to maintain that level of quality. But what I kind of want to do is I want to keep it small, but just super high quality and have some really good guys working for me, so that everybody that's coming on a trip knows that they're going to get the best experience. It's not like, oh, I'm with this random guy on some little boat, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, optimally, I'd want maybe 4 boats, one of each size, but like at the highest level that you can have. The biggest I'd probably want like eventually maybe a sport fisher. You know what sport fishing yacht is?
Yeah.
It's one of the diesel
inshores.
The inboards.
Yeah, inboard.
And, you know, they got the towers and stuff like that, and they're just really comfortable. You know, they got bedrooms and stuff like that, because the fishing that I really like to do is like way far out. It's called Pulley Ridge, and that's about 140 to 180 miles out in the Gulf. Oh, wow. And I'm starting to get more and more clients who are interested in doing that. And, you know, sure, some of them are just groups of guys that come and split it 6 ways to try to afford it. But some of these other folks, they're coming on a $7,000 trip, 2 or 3 people, you know, because that's nothing to these people. Some of them are millionaires, billionaires. And if you can offer that kind of luxury and high quality fishing, you'll stay booked.
Oh, yeah.
So if I could do that eventually and do like 2-3 day trips out to Pulley Ridge where, you know, the people can sleep in an actual bed on a boat and have like a chef on there, I guess that would kind of be like the end goal one day.
Yeah, that's definitely a good business model for here, because you know, focus more on quality and like kind of luxury for the people looking for trips like these, especially if they're already paying that high of an amount.
Yeah,
that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that, you know, that's great too, because there's something unique and not other fishing charters don't do that. Like they don't offer that you can stay out on the water for multiple days and fish on a big sports fishing yacht.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
No, the only thing that's kind of like that is this thing called the American Patriot, but it's a head boat. So it's not private. What I want to offer is kind of like just private groups, 5, 6, 7, 8 people maybe. But these boats are taking out like 20, 30 people at a time. So it's not like really personal. You know, and you're just getting tangled to everybody.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They catch a ton of fish, don't get me wrong, but you're sleeping in a little cot, you know, and eating buffet food and whatever. I haven't been on it, so I can't say too much about it, but it's definitely a different experience than I'm trying to bring to the table.
What's your like time frame for some of these goals?
So I'll probably be able to pay off both of my boats by the end of this season. So by this summer. So then I can start saving for that next boat. So I'd say in the next 3 years, I will buy my own large fishing boat, whether it's a cat or a monohull. But I really like the catamarans. That's what the Freeman is. You guys, have you ever seen a Freeman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they make big cats. They make like 37s, 42s, 47s, and the performance on those is ridiculous.
Why do you like the catamarans more? Is there like a difference you can see?
The ride, it takes the waves better than any boat. And then the other thing is the speed and fuel economy, which are two of the most important things, because boats, they get terrible fuel economy no matter what it is. People are driving their cars around. They're saying, "Oh man, I get 12 miles a gallon, 15 miles a gallon in my truck," and I'm like, I get one.
Yeah.
So, which is great.
On a boat, yeah.
It's amazing on a boat.
Getting one on a boat, on a fishing boat, especially a quad engine boat that hits 80 miles an hour, that's really good. So some of these other boats, just regular monohull center consoles with like trips, 3 engines, they get maybe 0.7, 0.8. So this Freeman that I run, it gets almost one at like 55 miles an hour. So there's no monohull that you can really do that on. So when you're burning hundreds of gallons in a day, that extra decimal point, it's the difference between a few $100 and, barely making a profit. So that's kind of why I want to get a cat.
And they can take serious chop and it can go offshore in really bad weather and such, right?
No, we've been out there and some serious stuff, like, 8-footers, 6 to 8 footers, and we're cruising just fine. So don't have to really worry about weather on that boat.
What was the farthest you ever taken the Freeman?
The Freeman, the other week we went about 177. So we were closer to Cuba than the mainland of Florida.
Wow.
So, and we tried a little bit of sword fishing. The group of guys that I had on there, they got bored of it after a little while because it's kind of slow fishing. And we had just come from deep dropping for snapper and grouper where we were pulling 3 fish up at a time on every rod. I don't know if you looked at my Instagram recently, but that pile of fish all on the dock, that was on that trip. So it's exciting fishing for sure. And if you will like fish to eat, like I think these guys probably bought back like 700, 800 pounds of fish or something like that. So
on your offshore charter, what's your go-to fish? Do you go for like red snapper?
So it's very seasonal. Red snapper is a great fish to go after, but they have very short seasons that are usually during the summer.
I heard it's being changed soon. I heard Rod DeSantis is doing something like that, right?
So last year it was the longest red snapper season we've ever had, which was great. I think there was like 3 straight months of red snapper season, but it's not like every other fish where they say, okay, this date to this date, it's open, whatever. They'll make it like really specific, like with holidays and weekends. It'll say like every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from August to October is open for red snapper, right? But that's usually the recreational season. So what they've done now is they've made it so you can only fish on a charter during commercial red snapper season. And even if you want to go fish for fun on your boat, but you have Gulf Reef permits on your boat, you can't go fish for red snapper during recreational season. So it's really weird. But yeah, during the summer, we do a lot of red snapper charters. Honestly, just a really easy fish to catch. Like if you got good spots out there for them, you're limiting out every time. This time of year, right now, it's red grouper season. So if I have somebody that wants some good fish to eat, we'll go get our red grouper limit and then try for different snapper like mangroves, yellowtails, stuff like that. The other thing I do this time of year is I fish for blackfin tuna, but that bite's kind of coming to an end now, so I haven't been doing that as much. It's really hit or miss, but if you hit it, it's some epic fishing. Like we've limited out in like 45 minutes a couple times, and you just got like 6 people hooked up to giant tuna all at the same time, and the cobia too. So mainly grouper, snapper, cobia, tuna. Those are probably the top 4 this time of year.
Yeah.
And then during the summer, we switch over to red snapper.
And people obviously, when they book, they specifically ask to be catching those fish.
Sometimes, yeah. So you got a couple different types of people who book charters. This time of the year, I'd say 75% of them are just tourists who they have no expectations really. So I'll say, hey, what do you guys want to fish for? Whatever. And a lot of them jokingly just say fish. And I'm like, well, yeah, of
course,
obviously. But they don't even know the species that we have here. Mm-hmm. So because they're just coming from out of state, they're not flying down to fish with me. They're here on vacation with their family or whatever, and they see something, they see somebody fishing or something, they're like, oh, we should do that while we're down here. And then they just go and call every single charter company and find one that's open, and then they go. So those, we just go for, if they don't want fish to eat, we go for big stuff. And if they want fish to eat, like on a nearshore trip, we'll go for like sheep's head and lane snapper, mango snapper, stuff like that. But the thing that's weird with those people for me is that obviously there's fish of all different sizes, right? So with grouper, there's a ton of species of grouper. The biggest being Goliath. You guys know what a Goliath is, obviously. So what's weird to me is we'll go out and fish offshore a lot of the times, and let's say red grouper that's a trophy fish, anything over like 17, 18 pounds is a giant, right? If I caught a 18, 19, 20 pound red grouper, I'd be freaking out. Like even if I wasn't the one who caught it, like one of my clients caught it, I'm like, let's go, that's a giant. Like, let's weigh it, whatever. Or for example, like a 30, 40 pound gag grouper. Like that's sick. That is a huge fish. That's a trophy fish. You rarely catch those. Yeah. But those people could catch those and they'd be like, oh, that's like a average size fish, whatever. And then at the end of the day, I drop down and catch a 200 pound Goliath grouper that I could do any day of the week, 10 times in a row. I could drop down a rope with a chicken on it and pull one up.
That's exactly.
And they're like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, they think that's so much cooler than the other fish just because they don't know.
And they're looking for the fight, really. So most of the tourists are looking for a good fight that they can actually...
You just want to take a picture with the
big fish. Most of them are just fishing for the pictures. Yeah. They don't want fish to eat. They don't know what they're talking about. The best fish to put those people on are probably amberjacks and Goliath grouper. Amberjacks, they fight like no other fish. Like an amberjack, like this big, if you're on spinning gear, you could fight it for 10, 15 minutes. It's rip and drag the whole time.
Yeah.
So...
Goliaths too, man.
Yeah. I use a big 80 wide conventional. It's like this big with 400 or 500 pound line on it. Yeah. And I still get broken off. So there's some giants out there.
I caught like not even an 100 pound Goliath on like 60 pound mainline and it was like straight FG to 400 pound mono on like a small center, and it blew it up. But like those small Goliaths, like they feel giant when you're fighting them.
Yeah, no, it depends on what setup you have for sure.
It definitely depends. Yeah.
If I hook anything under 100 pounds on that big 80 wide, it like comes up like nothing. But then sometimes we'll hook 300-400 pounders and you got no chance.
It's great. There's like 600 pounders out there.
Yeah,
Goliaths.
I think the biggest ever recorded is like 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah, something like
there's
600.
There's always bigger.
Yeah.
Have you felt like the Naples fishing has changed in the past, years?
That's a good question. It really has, yeah. So honestly, I haven't been fishing offshore long enough to see the crazy changes like everybody else has and has told me about. For example, the fishery that's probably gotten hit the hardest is red grouper. And the reason for that is that they're a super slow growing fish. So I think a mature red grouper, like a one that you could keep, a 20-incher, is like 12 years old, something like that. So, and they don't school up, they don't really travel and migrate a lot. They kind of find a little area that they really like and they stay there, they move around a little bit. But once you hit that spot and you limit out and you catch the 8 to 12 fish that are living there, that spot's done for years. So I've only been fishing offshore for maybe 4 years. I used to go and catch keeper red grouper within 30 miles, maybe like 25, 28 miles. You could still catch some giants. I haven't caught one within 40 miles in a while. Granted, I don't really try because I know that it's going to be really tough. But I hear stories from some of the older captains that 15, 20 years ago, you could go out 2, 3, 4 miles and limit out on red grouper, which is crazy because now I'm going 55, 60 miles every day.
It's a shame, really.
It really is. And the thing is that they don't go out very deep. So if I had to guess, I'd say we will have no red grouper fishery in the next 10 years.
For sure.
Because the deepest I've ever caught a red grouper is probably like 265. I'm sure they go to 300, but I doubt they go past that. So once you just keep pushing them out and further out, they got nowhere else to go. You've wiped everything.
It's
so they need to either put stricter regulations on it. They do one rule, which is the 100 fathom rule. So basically, it's 120 feet. Mm-hmm. You can't keep them this time of year past 120 feet, which is meant to let that population come back further out. But I feel like that's kind of reversed. I feel like it should be the closer in ones should be able to repopulate.
Yeah. And so to let everything else just reproduce.
So, but other than that, not really any significant changes. Obviously, we do have red tide every year, or every 2 years, and you will see the fishing change in the months after that. But it does bounce back pretty quickly. After Ian, the fishing, it was weird. There was a big red tide like a while after Ian. Not
like a month after,
Yeah,
right?
It was like a month after or something like that. But it was crazy. The fishing after Ian, like immediately after that week, was the craziest fishing I've ever seen in my life. Like, because I think the reason was that so much structure got covered up.
That's right.
By mud and silt and stuff like that. And same thing, and there was nobody out there. So many boats got destroyed that nobody was out there fishing. I would go fishing in Gordon's Pass, where every single person goes to fish, and I wasn't even using live bait. I was using lures. I probably caught 30 snook over 30 inches in like an hour.
Yeah.
I've never done that. Yeah, like just giants. Like every cast for the whole day. Like it was never ending, and there was nobody else out there. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then when we went offshore, we tried a couple spots, and we're like, "There's nothing here. It's covered up." And so, the only place that's not going to get covered up is the towers. Have you guys ever fished the towers?
Where?
No, I want to though.
Yeah. So, to be honest with you, it's a terrible spot because it gets so pressured. Because it's the most obvious spot for anybody to fish. Because it's literally sticking like 100 feet out of the water.
Yeah.
So I went and fished the towers after the hurricane, and it was ridiculous because every fish from that whole area came to that tower because all the other wrecks and live bottom got covered up. So I'm fishing the tower where if you went today on a nice calm day, one, there'd be 4 or 5 boats on it. This is specifically the R tower, the 30-mile tower. There'd be 4 or 5 boats on it, and you could fish it all day heavy. You could maybe pull out 5, 10 keeper fish out of there. I went there, and in 45 minutes to an hour, I limited out on snapper, which is 10 per person we had 5 people, so 50 snapper, like yellowtails and mangroves like this, in like an hour. And there was giant permit and just everything. Like we had one chum bag, and there was a cloud of fish behind the boat like I'd never seen in my whole life. And then I went to this other spot right next to it, and I caught a sailfish in Naples. Like the fish were displaced. Like I know that other people have caught them here, and they come through every now and then, but I really only know a handful of people who ever caught one. But I was just anchored on this spot, and this giant sailfish just swims right up to me. and we were only in like.
You posted on your Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah,
we looked at a lot of your like little coverage of the hurricane. So like, how was that like?
You had like the biggest standing of views for most of Florida.
Yeah.
So that was, I used my platform for good during that. I posted a lot of videos, and it did get a lot of views. And I said, okay, there's a lot of people in Sanibel that need help. And since my Instagram was getting so many views, like whether it was just my story or my reels or whatever, I said, okay, I'm going to post my Venmo on here. And every Venmo that I get, I'll use to go buy supplies and take them up to Sanibel and Captiva and those places by boat, because those places got cut off because, the Sanibel Bridge got destroyed.
Yeah.
So there was so many people up there who they were just cut off from the mainland, and they didn't have anything. So I got way more than I expected. I think I got maybe $2,000 in donations in like 2 days.
That's great.
And first I started on my little boat. That's when I had the action craft that we loaded it down with, food and waters and fuel and all kinds of stuff. The most important thing for those people was gas cans for their generators. So we bought a bunch of gas cans and brought 5-gallon cans to everybody who needed them up there. And obviously that adds up. But yeah, and the money just kept rolling in. I thought I was only going to do it for a day. I ended up doing it 3 days in a row. So that was kind of cool. That was the first time like I'd see my Instagram like do something like that and like bring people together. So that was pretty cool.
It's great.
Yeah, what was it like being there like firsthand and just like seeing everybody in stress and
it was kind of crazy, and it kind of gives you like bad vibes. But it is cool seeing everybody come together.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely destroyed up there. There was whole streets where like every single house was flattened. I forget what the island is called. It's the Matlacha.
Matlacha.
That's the little town that I went to that I saw get absolutely destroyed. Like everything was flattened. Like people were like staying in like tents and stuff there, and it was crazy. Yeah, it was so sad, but everybody came together and took care of each other. And I guess I was probably like 2 or 3 days late, like after the hurricane, because obviously I couldn't do anything because like a day or two after there was still like huge waves from the effects of the hurricane, so I couldn't even get up there if I wanted to. But I can only imagine what it was like the day of and like a day after.
Especially in Sanibel, it was like
they're
living out there basically in the wild.
Yeah,
because when
pretty
that
much.
happened,
Sanibel and Fort Myers. Fort Myers got it really bad.
Yeah.
So I could only imagine what it was like the day after.
We were really close because at first I'm pretty sure it was it was iffy whether or not I was going to move down here, but it just kept moving down, and just eventually just hit.
Yeah.
There.
It was way worse than I expected. I was like, because I went to, what was it, Irma?
Yeah, you were just expecting another Irma.
I was just expecting another Irma.
I think everybody was, honestly.
Because they said, oh, we're gonna have 20-foot storm surge. It's gonna be crazy. Whatever.
It's worse than Irma.
Irma had more wind, but Ian had way more flooding, and that's what really destroys people's homes and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, Ian was like so much larger, like physically, than Irma, and it moved so much slower that it was just kind of like it was almost hovering over a place and just kept, and then it just moved. But
yeah, it was the storm surge that really got people here. Yeah. I didn't even really take any precautions. I was just like, oh, it's just gonna be a storm, whatever. I was out all day of the storm. That's how I got a lot of those videos. So I'm not like scared of it. I don't think like my car is gonna get like swept away or something like that. But I was out there. Like I went to the pier like during like the eye, and like looked at it. There was like 20-foot waves.
You got some great coverage.
I did get some great videos. Yeah. But I didn't expect the storm surge to be so crazy. So I have my boat in a marina down in Bayshore. At that time, I had the Pathfinder there, and I just told them to just put it on the bunks on the ground next to the building. So then it would have like a little wind coverage, and it was, up out of the water. And then I was driving down Davis here, and I was like, holy crap, there's there's like 5 feet of water on Davis. And I was like, dude, my boat has got to be like in somebody's yard.
It was bad.
And so I parked my truck right at the corner of Davis and Airport, and we got a kayak, and we kayaked all the way from Davis all the way to the marina on Bayshore, like 2 miles or something.
Wow.
So that's how much road was
That's
underwater.
crazy.
And there was people, carrying stuff on their heads, walking out of their houses, like trying to collect everything that got destroyed. And then there was other people who dropped their jet skis off in the road and were having a blast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kayaked down there all the way. I think the deepest water I saw was on the corner of Shadowlawn and 41. Mm-hmm. It was like, it was like up to my chest.
If I'm not mistaken, it was all the way up to the government center on 41, almost.
Yeah,
to the...
no, that's where I was. Yeah,
wow,
right there.
Yeah.
So a little bit further this way, it was probably like 5 feet, 6 feet in the middle of the road, like in the intersection where it dips down a little bit. And like there were some cars that tried to go in there, and they were just completely under.
And the airport was bad too. The median was the only thing above water.
Yeah. That's where I ended up getting screwed.
Yeah.
So I kayaked all the way down to the boat, and the water was like a couple inches away from the point where it would be able to carry my boat off. Mm-hmm. So thankfully my boat was safe. It didn't float away. Didn't really get any damage. Just, I put the cover on it, got completely ripped off, but no real damage. So I was like, oh, okay, great. And then I went back to the truck, had a kayak all the way, and then we went to leave on Airport, and the water had came in even more.
Oh, no.
And so I kind of thought it was the same, but it ended up being a lot deeper, and I ended up totaling my truck.
Oh, no.
Trying to save my boat.
Shoot, what truck was it?
It was just, I had a 1500 Chevy. I love that truck. But at the time, I thought I was going to lose my boat, my moneymaker, and
yeah,
that's more important.
Yeah, no. Looking back on it, it was absolutely stupid. But it happened, and I was just right there next to the airport, and I was driving, and it was a huge lifted truck too. I thought it'd be fine.
Yeah,
there was
honestly.
like little sedans driving by me and stuff, but I guess I don't know, something's different about the Chevy intake, and just sputtered out, and I left it right there. But and that was that. So
insurance just
they took care of it. Yeah. Because there was so many claims. So they were just, they weren't looking into it too hard.
No, yeah. And I mean, you looked at the airport, right? Like I heard there was like planes that were like completely.
I didn't go that close or look over by the airport really, but I can imagine.
Oh yeah, because I know I did see Enterprise cars. They had cars like freaking flipped over in the middle of the road and like on top of roofs, like in downtown.
No, it was nuts. There was so much damage, and it just would have never expected that. Now I'll take it a little more seriously. Yeah.
So. But honestly, it really didn't affect your business very much, did it?
It took a while for people to come back and
Thankfully, hurricanes don't happen during peak season. They're usually just like a late summer thing.
Yeah.
Like if it happened this time of year and I was put out for a month, that would be it. Because during this month, March, I probably make like a third of my money for the whole year. Wow. So thankfully, it was at a time that was really slow anyways. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really affect me at all. Except for the truck.
Well, yeah, of course.
But thankfully, I did have at that time I had a little boat that I could tow with like a little car, so I didn't have to buy another truck. Still have it. Told myself I'd buy a house before I bought a new truck. So
you're just using like a stand.
Yeah, I just have like a little beater car.
There you go. I mean, whatever works, right?
Yeah.
Whatever gets you to the boat.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whatever gets you to the money.
Yeah, and then my my best friend and my business partner, Joaquin, he's got a truck, so he's the one who runs the Pathfinder, which is the one that's on the trailer. So it all works out. But I really need a truck badly.
Wait, so do you guys keep all your boats at the marina? Because if you don't have a truck, then you can't.
So the Orion is at a marina on Bayshore. I recently just bought a house down there as well, which I'm going to eventually use as a rental for my clients coming from out of state. But it has a bunch of room in the front, so that's where I put the Pathfinder. So he trailers the Pathfinder out of there to the boat ramp that's right there. It just works perfectly.
Easy, yeah.
So
it's great. So what are your plans for the future? For just your charter company, like expanding it, obviously.
So, like I just said, I got that house. I bought that a couple months ago. I kind of just was looking at the market, and it was a great deal, and it just made sense. And I was like, I could see myself living in this place, or I can see myself using it as an Airbnb or rental for my people, because it's literally 45 seconds from the marina. Yeah. So, and the boat ramp. So it's just perfect. So basically over the summer, once we stop running trips every day, we're going to renovate this place, make it really nice, try to make it so we can sleep 5 or 6 people. And then for next year, I'm going to offer package deals for all my clients coming from out of state. Like, you know, you book a week and you get the house and you get like 1 charter on every boat, something like that. I think people would be really interested in that.
It's a
just
great,
make it really simple. All you got to do is book the plane ticket. So that's kind of what I want to start offering by next season.
That's great. I'm sure you've heard of like Bass Pro's whole thing. With they offer like trips kind of like that too. And honestly, that's a great thing for you to do too if you're trying to get into.
I haven't heard of the Bass Pro thing. They just have like different lodges and stuff.
Yeah, kind of like that. And then again, and they also, I'm not sure if they offer the boat, the charter, so that's also a good selling point for you.
Gotcha.
And I mean, honestly, that's actually a great idea. To
what
do that
inspired me to do that is some of the vacations that I did with my boys. Like, you know, even though we fish for work, when we go on vacation, we're going fishing. I don't have any interest in doing anything else. I'm not going to go and like look at some statues and some pretty scenery or something. I want to go catch badass fish.
Right.
So we go to Costa Rica. Last couple of years we went to Costa Rica, and then the other place is Louisiana. Venice, Louisiana specifically is an awesome place to go. And both of those places had kind of exactly what I described. So, you know, and for us, we're just splitting it with our boys like 5 ways. And you get the house, and you get food, and, you know, they have a shuttle service and stuff like that. And then you fish 1 day on, 1 day off. So you fish, and then you take a rest day, fish, and you fish like 4 days. And same thing in Venice. Venice is a lot more expensive because they're running a lot more expensive charter boats. That's where I kind of got the Freeman bug, is Venice. So, but same thing there. They got houseboats that you can stay at. And this last year, this fall, I went with this guy Bob Hovey, Louisiana Blue Water Charters, and it was just an awesome experience. I went with 6 of my boys. We stayed in the houseboat. The guy pulls the Freeman up to the houseboat, and we just leave there. You wake up, eat some breakfast, and you walk like 10 steps, and you're on a Freeman, and then you go fish. So that's kind of like the dream. So I was like, I want to be the first person to offer that here in Naples, because there's nobody that I know of that offers that kind of service. There might be, but nobody that openly advertises it. So if I could offer package deals like that, I think I'd book a lot more people. And then the other thing is that I could advertise out of state. So right now, I don't know if you guys do Google ads or whatever, but you choose your zone, pick like a little circle or whatever, and I just advertise local all the way from Bonita down to like Goodland or something, right? And that's where your ads get pushed. But if you're offering stuff like that, and then you kind of push the ads like pre-season, like fall or something, you could, say, okay, everything in the Northeast, because that's where most of these people come from.
Yep.
Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, places like that. And then you could push it and make it come up on their feed or whatever. And then they're like, oh, we were planning on going to Florida anyway. Why don't we just book this? And then we got everything taken care of.
Straightforward.
So that's kind of the goal in the future here.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I think, and you're 20, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy to think that you're only 3 years older than us, and that's a great inspiration.
Wait, you guys are only 17?
Yeah, we're 17.
We're 17.
Oh, dude, I had no clue. I thought you guys are older. Well,
that's what everyone thinks.
Yeah, look at you guys. That's great.
You're like a crazy inspiration for, I think, a lot of people watching this podcast too right now that like you can really like, and you live in the perfect place for it to do something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, in a few years, be able to expand the business, be able to make a living out of it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's really impressive that you guys are only that old and you're doing something like this. That's pretty cool too.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys go to high school here?
Of course.
Naples High.
Naples?
High.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started in Naples.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did 2 years at Naples and then I had to move and I went to Barron. So
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like Naples or Barron better? You got to be honest.
I'll be honest. I like Barron better.
Oh, no.
But I will say Naples has a way better campus. The layout of the school and the sports programs are much better. But Barron, I think, had way better teachers. Oh. So I had a lot of problems at Naples. There were some teachers that I didn't get along with, and it seemed like some of them were just like unqualified hires. And
definitely,
I had some issues like just stupid stuff. Like I had a teacher that straight up said out loud, like, I'm not going to give you a good grade because I don't like you, like stuff like that, that you can't do as a teacher. And then at Barron, I met some really just inspirational teachers who I still talk to today. So some real cool people there. But they're both good schools. But I hated high school anyway. It didn't matter where it was.
Yeah,
that's why I graduated a year early. I knew I wasn't going to college. I think I was 15 or 16 when I said, not doing that.
And honestly, you got your captain's license right after, correct?
Yeah. So I graduated when I was 17, right when I turned 17. And then I worked for a year. I worked at a golf course just as like a cart boy. And it's, decent paying job, make a lot of tips.
Yeah.
So I was able to save up a decent amount of money. And then that's what I used to get started with the captaincy, because it is kind of expensive. It's not like super expensive, but if you got like your captain's license, all the tests and like the paperwork and stuff like that, it's probably like $2,000. And then it costs money to make your LLC, your SunBiz, your tax stuff, and then insurance stuff like that. So you need a decent amount of money saved up. So
and offshore
was perfect.
Offshore was also talking about like the licenses that you needed for like all the stuff that's.
Oh yeah, that's another level. That was something that I was not even remotely worried about at that time. And last year I bought. He was probably talking about the permits, right?
Yeah, he was talking about the permits, the license.
Ridiculous
prices. That was something huge. I have offshore permits, and I put them on the Pathfinder, right? Which it's kind of goofy. Most people would see that and be like, is this guy out of his mind? But that's all I had. And I knew that the goal was to be going further and further offshore. And I've had a lot of problems with that because it is a super competitive market here. And other captains, they don't hold back. They'll report you. They'll talk shit to your face, try to get you kicked out because they think you're stealing their business. So I didn't have permits for a while, and I was never running offshore, but some of the stuff that I was posting on my Instagram, guys thought I was. Specifically, I think it was the gag grouper that I was catching, which is funny because I catch, even now, I catch huge gag grouper inshore, like in the backwaters. And I was taking the action craft like 3, 5, 6 miles and catching massive gags. And people thought that was crazy because it was really cool, taking a little flats boat out like that and catching giant grouper. And so they thought I was going past 9 miles. And then I got the Pathfinder, and then they were like, he's really definitely taking clients out there now, which is, you can get fined a ton. It's illegal to take charter past 9 miles if you don't have those permits. So then I had a couple guys give me a hard time, and I was like, you know what? Screw this. I do want to be able to go past 9 miles because I could be catching way cooler stuff.
Yep.
And so I just asked one of my clients, would you want to buy a bunch of trips up front? You know, somebody who comes with me 10 times a year maybe. And I was like, could you write me a check for 35 grand? Because that's how much the permit is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure Bill bought his for 10 grand.
Yeah, they rise like crazy.
10 years ago. But now they're between 30 and 40 grand.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to get them. And then I bought them, and I didn't tell anybody that I had them because first you get a little piece of paper that certifies it. So if you did get pulled over, you can show them, oh, okay, I have my stickers coming, whatever. And I started posting like crazy ass fish on the single engine bay boat. And everybody was like, you can't be doing that, whatever. And I was like, sorry, man. You know, and I have the permits. It's all completely legal.
Yeah.
I'm catching like mutton snapper and African pompano and stuff like that. And it was just funny. But, you know, I try to keep to myself. I don't want beef with anybody. Like,
Yeah.
no reason to do that really. So,
do you have a lot of interactions with the FWC?
Not really. No.
Oh.
I got pulled over a couple months ago. This is kind of a funny story. So it was we were fishing for fun. I was with all my boys. We kind of just split a trip on the Freeman. We do that every now and then, you know. Yeah. I have to pay a certain amount to the LLC to use that boat, but it is worth it. You know, if we go like 500 a guy, just go out for fun with my boys. So we did a pulley trip, and it was getting kind of late. I didn't want to be coming in the dark, so I was hauling. It was flat, calm day. You know, that boat is as fast as it gets. Yeah. So I was probably cruising at 60, 62 maybe, and we're like 40 miles out, 50 miles out, something like that. And we're just, you know, cranking the music, ripping it. Mm-hmm. And I look on my screen, and some of the nicer boats have this thing called VMS, Vessel Monitoring System. And you can actually see other boats on there as a little icon. Mm-hmm. You can click it. It shows you the name of the boat, like their heading, their speed, their course, all that stuff. So I'm looking at the screen, and I see this vessel icon come up behind me. I was like, who is that? I was like, oh, it must be one of my buddies, because I have a lot of other captains that I'm friends with. Like we'll mess with each other. Like we'll do flybys, like 50 miles offshore, whatever. I was like, oh, I thought it was like Michael Wollner or something, which is another captain in Marco that I'm friends with. I was like, oh, he's gonna rip it by us or something, try to race. And I look back, and it's FWC on this quad engine inflatable boat, hammer down, just bouncing, and I'm like, oh,
it's over.
I'm trying not that I have any single thing on me that's illegal, but I was like, this is gonna waste my time. I did not want to cruise in there in the dark because it was getting foggy, worst fog I've ever seen in my life, and I could have easily kept going the same speed I was going, and they would have never had a chance. Like I could have dusted them, but I slowed it down. I was like, all right, guys, you're kind of screwing up my whole plan here. I'm trying to get in before dark. There's some bad fog. You know, can we please make this quick? And, you know, I know a lot of the guys just because I've been on the water so long, and they kind of wanted to check fish and paperwork and just normal stuff. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But I told, we'd gone to Pulley Ridge that day. So that's probably why we got pulled over, because they saw a boat going 60 miles an hour coming from the direction of Cuba that was closer to Cuba than the U.S.
That definitely looks.
They could have thought we were running drugs or something, because when he pulled me over, he was like, "Is that your normal cruising speed?" I was like, "In this boat, yeah." So I told him, I was like, "Dude, we have so much fish. If you really think you're gonna look through all of it, it's gonna take like 2 or 3 hours, because we just killed it." And I told him straight up, because I know every fish that's in there. I was like, "We got 10 of these, 12 of these, 8 of these," and he could tell that I knew what I was talking about, because there's so many different fish and so many regulations, and you know, you got to know them all. And he kind of just took a peek in there, and it's like a 200-300 gallon fish box, and it's like completely filled to the top with fish and ice. Wow. And he's like,
maybe not today.
Yeah, you guys are good. And then he closes it.
I don't get paid.
You know, he just looked at the paperwork and sent us on our way.
Oh, so, yeah.
But other than that, haven't really had any issues with FDub.
That's great.
Well, we're starting to wrap up, so I got one last question for you. What would be your advice for anyone who's trying to start a business?
That's a good question. I would say make your mind up early, specifically to people like you guys. Like, you're 17. Figure out if you want to go to college or not. I think people should know by the time they're 16 or 17 exactly what they want to do, because I did. And if you can do that, and let's say you make the choice to not go to college. You're like, all right, I'm going to graduate high school as early as possible, and then I'm going to work my ass off, try to save up some money, because you need money to start a business. And people who have family money, I'm envious of them, because if I had somebody that could just, like, you know, like Trump said, give you a small loan of $1 million. Yep. If you have good ideas, it is so easy to turn money into a ridiculous amount of money.
Multiply it.
It's so easy. So if you can just save up a little bit, or you have family money and you got somebody that'll give you $100,000, and you'll pay him back, whatever. You can create a business at 18, and if you just keep growing it, investing everything that you make, and really like putting all your effort into it, you're going to be successful no matter what business you're in. I see a lot of these people who kind of get stuck in like the high school mindset and the partying and stuff. And like, they want to go to college, they want to have a good time, they want to party. And they kind of assume that, okay, I'm going to college, I'm getting a degree. When I get out, I'm going to get a job handed to me, a well-paying job. That's just not how it is anymore. A 4-year college degree is worthless nowadays.
Yeah, because everybody's got bachelors.
Everybody's got them.
Yeah.
So it's not worth anything. Like, you know, I don't know what a well-paid job is with a bachelor's nowadays. What is like $40, $50 an hour maybe?
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah,
if that.
Because now they're wanting masters. It's great.
Yes, that'd be something that somebody going to college would hope to get, right? Like a $40, $50 an hour job. Like, oh, that's great. I charge $100 an hour to go fish on somebody else's boat, and I'm booked every day. So
live the dream.
You don't need to go to college. That's all I gotta say. Unless
I think,
you want to do something that requires higher education, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do something that's very important to society, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, or if you want to do something that's good for the community, and your biggest thing isn't making a bunch of money, be a teacher or something like that. All those jobs have value, but I think if your goal in life is to be very successful and make a lot of money in this day and age, focus on starting a business as soon as you can, invest all your money, accumulate real estate, stuff like that, and you'll be successful.
Yep.
So
something definitely really wanted to say, and that's great advice as well, is definitely just taking problems and finding solutions to them and just selling the solution. And that's it, pretty much.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, it was great talking to you.
Great talking
do you want to give the camera, give our viewers a bit like a just
shout out?
Shout out.
If you guys want to book a trip, you can check out my website. It's www.naplesfishingcaptain.com, or follow me on Instagram, captain.jasondiver, CAPT. Or text my number, 239-307-8661. Book a trip. Let's go catch some fish.
All right.
Let's hope this doesn't go too viral, because too many people will be texting you.
Hey, that's a good
phone's going to blow up.
That'd be good, though. That'd be good.
That would be amazing.
All right.
All right, man.